Shalom. Peace be on you. Assalamu alaikum. We thank the Almighty Creator of us all, who's called by all the most beautiful names, for blessing us with this tremendous opportunity to share with you a very interesting history that has occurred in America among the Muslim community. If we don't tell the story won't be told. So I'm here to tell you a story about a modern miracle in America, or a miracle in modern America. My name is Arthur Farahkhan. I hope that doesn't frighten you. And I'm so happy to see so many seniors here beside myself. I don't know, I do interactive talks where we interact with each other. So one of the things I've noticed is our youth are really doing those text messaging things today. How many of us text message occasionally? Oh, wow, more than I anticipated. So, you know, they got their little symbols, lots of love, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm noticing now that some of the seniors are sending texts that our youth don't know about, such as ATD. And what does that mean? It means at the doctor. BFF. What does BFF mean? Best friend failed. Or BTW. I'm a Booker T. Washington alum now. BTW now means bring the wheelchair. And then one more I'll share with you, BYOT, bring your own teeth. That's one of those situations when the husband and wife are real close and they share each other's teeth. And then there's another one I like, FWIW. And I found myself having a whole lot of these, forgot where I was. This folder, All Souls Partners in Education, is an orientation folder that we received at Gilcrease School under the leadership of your pastor, Reverend Marlon Lavenhar, who is a special person. We all know about 9/11. Pastor Marlon is the only pastor in Tulsa of any religious community who called and checked on us when that 9/11 thing went down. It was very serious. There were people calling and threatening our lives. Thank God that none of us got killed, but we could have. And I commend his leadership in making this possible. You know, preachers don't usually invite somebody to speak in their pulpit and then leave town. So he's watching on TV. Okay, what's up, brother? I'm getting ready to start talking fast, which is what I normally do. But I want to acknowledge our brother Gerald Davis, who's a visionary and who loves humanity. And I'm just recently acquainted with Tamara, Reverend Tamara. And I had an opportunity to touch some of your mind and your soul in that prayer. That was a powerful prayer. And the John Philip Sousa song that was done, man, it was hard for me to sit still. Yeah, I used to be in the marching band, and we played a lot of John Philip Sousa's marches. That was tremendous. I was thinking, and somebody needs, my wife's going to give me the time when I got about 5 minutes. I was told by the Reverend I got about 25 minutes. If that changes, I'm fluid. I can do what, okay. But there's so much in me that I want to tell you. I'm not going to be able to tell you all in this one service. So maybe you have an opportunity to come to the second service, or maybe you'll have an opportunity to watch this on television. But I believe that the world must get this message. Not because of Arthur Farahkhan, because of Almighty God. And God uses human beings. I don't know how many of you know history of the Nation of Islam. A history I think a lot of people got was they are the black Muslims. And I remember that I used to scare the heck out of people. Here comes the black Muslims. And I facetiously said to a person one day when they kept blowing that horn about the black Muslims, I said, well, what about the white Christians? Everybody's in some kind of container. Yeah. You know, we forget that we drive Chevys and Fords and Lexuses and Hoopties, you know, but the bodies that we drive are also containers. Containers with our name on them, but they're containers. And nobody has any control over what container they're in. Now, you may have a control over what car you drive, but not their physical body. But I want to share a little history with you. We are told that the Nation of Islam began July 4th, 1930, which means that this weekend is the 81st anniversary of the beginning of the Nation of Islam. Now, this person who started the Nation of Islam, you got to do some study on this individual. A gentleman by the name of W.D. Farad, that's how you pronounce his name. Even though his name was spelled F-A-R-D, he pronounced it Farad. And he came to Detroit in the early 30s and saw the dilapidating situation in the African-American community. He saw the poverty. He saw the low self-esteem. So he went to Elijah Poole, who came from Sandersville, Georgia, who had a great love and a great concern for his people, and said to him, I am the Mahdi. I am the one that the Bible has prophesied will come. And you are the Elijah of the Bible. He says, I will send you Elijah. So he came up with a concoction that he called Islam. But it was not Islam. It was the social reform movement put into a container called Islam. Because he looked at America and he saw a peculiar situation among the African-American people. In fact, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't even use that language, African-American. We used the language of black, you know, and it got a lot of us in trouble, even among our own people. I'm telling you the gospel truth. I remember some arguments that people got into, some fights that people got into who looked like me, because one of them was calling the other one black. So don't call me black. You can call me nappy-headed, but don't call me black nappy-headed. I'm going to pull my switchblade on you. So something happened where many of us, even though we didn't have any control over our container, we were ashamed of our containers. We were ashamed of the texture of our hair. We were ashamed of the lips. We were ashamed of the noses. And let me ask you, Caucasians, because I don't believe there's any white folks and black folks. You know, if there's anybody here white, I would like for you to raise your hand just so we can see. Because I've never seen a white person. I mean, I haven't. I've heard they got people with leprosy. But if you call yourself white, anybody here is this color? I do this. I do a sensitivity workshop. And I ask that question of people who volunteer. I'm always looking for volunteers. Nobody would ever volunteer. But, oh, yeah, once we did. I said, raise your hand. You're white. And then I'll put this sheet of paper next to the hand and say, now, what color are you? And then they had to think about it again. So we have a situation in America that Farahkhan saw, and he came up with an antidote to cure the race problem. It was bizarre, very bizarre. One thing he began to teach, even though I think he used certain language for us to come in a lot of times and figure it out, that it was just a certain antidote for a certain time. You know, even the doctor would tell you, you use this medication, but if you don't use it all up pretty soon, don't you go back and take this medicine because it can harm you. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit. So he gave us a medicine to deal with a reality in the average African-American community. People are ashamed of their hair. Now, I do interactive talk, so I'm asking the Caucasians here, how many of you have heard of BBs? You never heard of BBs? Or let me, have you ever heard of naps? You've never heard of naps? Oh. I'm bald-headed. But if my hair would grow, they would grow into little rolled up hair that some people used to tease and call them BBs. And they would say, you got bad hair. Now, I'm helping you to see this something so that we can make some points. My wife and I, who's sitting here, raise your hand, dear. Yeah. She did more than raise her hand. She stood up. And she wants y'all to know who my wife is. I'm very happy. I thank God for my wife. We have 2 sons. We have 7 children altogether. But we have 5 sons. And the sons looked just alike when they were growing up. She even had them with the same clothes on, same color clothes. So we took our sons downtown one Saturday, and a woman came over and said about our one son who has kind of straight hair. Back in the ancestry, there are some Native American or something where the hair is a little straighter. And the woman came over and said to our one son, she said, "Oh, you sure got good hair." And the son smiled. And she looked over at our other son who's got BBs, and she said, And that son grew up with an inferiority complex. Okay? So Farahkhan saw this bizarre situation. You got people who hate themselves about something they have no control over. So he came with a logic. His logic was, I'm going to use this antidote not only on the black man, but I'm also using this antidote on the white man. It's going to be a double coin. I'm going to teach the black man that he's God. And I'm going to teach the white man that he's the devil. And they used some strong logic. He used strong logic He said, who do you know on the planet that's always causing hell? Who is it that you know that's starting wars all over the earth? Who is it that you know that lynched your ancestors in slavery? Who is it that continues to do Jim Crowism? Who is it that started the massacre in Tulsa in 1921? Strong logic. He said the reason they do that is because they are the devil. And we created them. We made them. We went through a process of grafting them. Out of the black man, he said, came a lighter person. And after a few more years, they grafted it even to a lighter person. And they grafted it as far as they can go. And then they came up with the white man, the skunk of the planet Earth. So you had many Caucasians who heard this type of teaching, and it made them really come down off of some of that false superiority complex when we would stand right in their face and say, you the devil. And then he would say to you, and you, brother, you're the victim of the devil. You're the one that's been exploited and manipulated and used by the devil. But guess who you really are? Who are we? You are God. Can you imagine a little nappy-headed brother from Tulsa, Oklahoma, hearing that type of talk and believing that I'm God? Believing that there's nothing I can't do? So he brought us with this antidote from this level of racial inferiority to superiority so that the races could look at each other in the eye as equal and as brothers. He wasn't able to accomplish that in his lifetime through his disciple, Elijah Muhammad. But those are the seeds that he planted. So we were anti-America. On this day, we got the Constitution, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't want to hear nothing like that. We didn't want to hear nothing about being patriotic. We didn't want to hear anything about voting. In fact, we didn't watch television. We didn't participate in the political process in no way. And the only people who could come to our meetings are people who look like us that were born in America. If you came from another country, even if you're dark skinned, you could not participate in our community. So we were way, way on the outside. Now, Minister Louis Farahkhan is not the leader of Muslims in America. They're having a big meeting today in Tulsa. They invited me to it. Not Minister Farahkhan, but some of his top lieutenants. They wanted us to come. And I'm saying this to Minister Farahkhan. I believe he'll get a copy of this or he'll watch it. Minister Farahkhan, you are my brother. But what you continue to teach about the divinity of the black man and the white man being the devil is causing tremendous harm in America. You have to stop. You have to stop. Now, I'm getting emotional. Because I examine in my own heart and in my own mind if the whole Caucasian race could be a race of devils. I had to deal with that. And I remember an angel that God sent to help Brother Arthur when I didn't know any better. A Caucasian angel by the name of Agnes Hale, who loved Brother Arthur and gave Brother Arthur a chance. Even though everybody was putting me down at Sears, he's a black Muslim, he's this, he's that. I turned to her in love. She come to me with love and showed me what the Quran teaches. Humanity is one. God is one. Allahu Akbar. And I read the Quran, and I heard a man by the name of W.D. Muhammad, who was the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who began to read from the Quran when his father died, February 25th, 1975. The very next day, February 26, 1975, he began to teach us from the Quran. Your pastor said on this video where you're advertising this, he said, Brother Arthur began his ministry in the clergy through the Nation of Islam. I said, nobody could have told him that but God, because I ain't told nobody that myself. I was a member of the clergy in the Nation of Islam. I was a student minister. I was one of the leaders of the Nation of Islam. And I sold thousands of Muhammad Speaks newspaper, putting the white man down, putting America down. But now I'm coming as a person that the Quran has touched my heart, touched my mind, and we can no longer continue to teach what we know is not correct. There are some Caucasian devils, but there are also some black devils. There are some Caucasian saints, and there also are some black saints. Don't believe that you can lump one group into any definition. Look at God's beauty. Look at his wisdom. You invite us here this morning. These are Muslims here. And my honored friend, Steve Mackey, my Caucasian brother. I mean, when I say Caucasian brother, I'm talking about brother. We would die for each other, straight up. This is for real. Look at God's wisdom. I'm looking closely. I got my specs on so I can see real good. I don't see any Unitarian air. I don't see Jewish air. I don't see Muslim air. I don't see Unitarian sunlight coming in the windows. I don't see Jewish sunlight coming in the windows. I don't see Muslim sunlight coming in the windows. So the one that knows more than us is telling us you are one. You are the same. I made you different so you could lead to Arafu, so that you could learn from each other through your diversity. It will make you curious about one another. It will cause you to have conversations and to examine the history and the culture of each other. But you are essentially the same. If you don't believe it, close your eyes and bring two babies from any place in the world. One Russian, one Watusi, and they cry the same language. Universal baby language. Bring some old folks. Let them come down the aisle in their canes. One from Russia, one from Timbuktu. And if they cry the same language. What is God telling us? Humanity is one. Nafsin wahida. Nafsin, for many, one. So the Quran tells us, whether you are a Christian, a Sabian, a Jew, a Muslim, if you are that sincerely, God says on you shall be no fear, nor shall you grieve. So we are the brothers and the sisters to each other, not the enemies of each other. And we have to do what we can in order to help the world to see this, in order to help the world to know this, because it ain't going to get no better until me and you do better. Thank you very much.